Let's read the first question. Water is an essential molecule for life. Complete the statements. Water moves into and out of the cells by water moves into and out of the cells by osmosis. This is the process that moves any water, which is in a liquid form. And water is known as a solvent because it can dissolve the solutes. Okay. A leaf cell was put into solution. The water potential of the solution was lower than the water potential of the contents of the cell. Water potential of the solution, which means that outside the cell has lower water potential than inside the cell. Okay. Figure 1.1 is a sketch of the cell after 3 hours. Again, since outside was low water potential and inside was high water potential, water will move out of the cells by osmosis. And then he told me the leaf cell was then transferred into pure water. Sketch the expected appearance of the cell after it had been in the pure water for 3 hours. In this question, he told you that he put it in pure water. So if the cell is in pure water, this means that there is high water potential outside, low water potential inside the cell, so the water will move inside the cell. So how will you draw it? It should be something that looks like this. The cell wall and the cell membrane are sticking to each other. Here, there is a gap between the cell membrane and the cell wall because this cell is plasmolyzed, while here, there is no gap sticking to each other. The vacuole is expanded, okay? Like here, the vacuole was small. Here, the vacuole should be bigger. And you should draw an arrow to show the direction of water movement. So the arrow will come from outside to inside. These are the 3 marks, okay? A plant was not watered for 1 week. It shows the series of photographs of the plant during the week. No water for 1 week. Explain how the lack of water has affected the support of the leaves in the figure. Use the term turgor pressure. In this question, he told you how the lack of water affected the support. We know that one of the functions of osmosis is to fill the plant cells with water so that they are turgid and they can lift the plant. The plant can stand upright and lift the leaves upwards. If there is no water, okay, the vacuoles start to shrink. The vacuoles are not pushing on the cell walls anymore. The cells are flaccid. There is no turgor pressure, so the plant wilts. So this was the answer, okay? Let me show you the answer. The plant wilts as the cells are flaccid, the vacuoles shrink, they are not pushing on the cell wall anymore, so I have less turgor pressure. Pathogens cause disease. Figure 2.1 shows some cells that are parts of the human immune system. These cells are responding to one type of pathogen. Okay, so I have the pathogen, and I have some cells responding to the pathogen. Explain how the immune system responds to the invasion of pathogens and use the letters. He gave you the pictures, so you can use the pictures to tell him how does the immune system fight pathogens, okay? Okay, so use the letters and tell me the answer. In this question, you will describe the whole part of the immunity. How does it work? And please use the letters. So what am I going to say? Number 1, pathogen, which is Q, is recognized as foreign. These pathogens have specific antigens. The lymphocytes, which are S, they recognize the specific antigen of the pathogen, and they start to produce antibodies. The antibodies, which are T, are complementary in shape. They have shape that is complementary to the pathogen, okay? And then lymphocytes also forms memory cells, which provide long-term immunity. What about R? R, which are the phagocytes, they engulf pathogens and digest it using enzymes. Okay, so this big white blood cells, which has extension, this is the phagocyte, it engulfs the pathogen and digests it using enzymes. E, a vaccine was introduced in 1942 for a particular disease. Figure 2.2 shows the effect of introducing the vaccine on the number of cases of diseases. He gave me the graph. This is the number of cases and this is the years. The first question اللي هو الquestion اللي يعني it came recently more than one time. In 1946, the government of the country concluded that the vaccine was successful. He gives you a sentence and then he asks you, discuss the evidence shown for and against. What do I do in this question? I need to find points from the graph that supports this sentence and other points that are against this sentence. Okay? So what can I say here? Again, in the questions that asks you for evidence for and against, you have to look at the graph and you will find points that support the answer and points that are against, support the sentence and points that are against the sentence. Okay? What supports the sentence? What supports in the vaccine was successful? Number one, the overall cases decreased. Number of cases decreased overall from 1942 when you administered the vaccine. Number two, starting from 1974, there are no cases, 0 cases. So this means it was successful. What else? 8 points against the. Number one, after you took the vaccine, the cases increased slightly. Number two, the decrease is not continuous. If you check the graph, you will find that it decreases, increases, decreases, increases, which means that there are fluctuations. So the cases fluctuate. I will tell him that the cases fluctuate. Number three, it took 32 years after the vaccine for cases to be 0. You took, the vaccine was introduced here, cases are 0 here. So it took about 32 years for the cases to become 0. You can also use numbers from the graph. Yani I can tell him مثلا in the points 4 that when the vaccine was first introduced, the cases was, and check what the number is. After 30 years, the cases, in 1970, for example, the cases is كذا, so it decreased by this amount of cases. You will subtract the two numbers, and you will tell him that the cases decreased by this number of cases. Okay? Question 3, all living organisms excrete waste products. It is a photomicrograph of Naegleria fowleri, a single-celled protoctist that lives in water environments. State the feature visible that distinguish it from prokaryotes. طبعا الprokaryotes is the bacteria. The bacteria has no nucleus, while I can clearly see that there is a nucleus here. I can also say that it has no cell wall, while the bacteria has a cell wall. I can say that it has mitochondria. These are mitochondria, while there's no mitochondria in the bacteria. Okay. State the name and the function of structure A. What is structure A? So structure A is the cell membrane. Cell membrane. What does it do? It controls what goes in and out of the cell, like any other cell membrane. What goes in and out of the cell. Okay. Suggest how the N. fowleri excretes carbon dioxide. How is carbon dioxide excreted? Just like any gas, carbon dioxide will leave the cell by diffusion. This is how it is excreted. Okay. Urea is a toxin that is excreted by kidneys in humans. Describe how and where in the body urea is formed. How and where. حلو قوي. يبقى here how and where the body in the body the urea is formed. First, we will talk about how. It is the breakdown of excess amino acids by deamination. What is the process of deamination? We know that the amino acid is formed of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, the proteins. So, deamination is the removal of the nitrogen containing part. It takes place in the liver. Okay. Figure 3.2 shows part of the human excretory system and the associated blood vessels. The arrow indicates the direction of blood flow. Okay. Draw a label line and the letter X to show the location of the cortex in one of the kidneys. Okay. So the cortex is the outer part. Okay. So I will put here. This is the cortex, the outer part of the kidney. Okay, table 3.1 contains statements about the labeled structures. State the name of the structure. Identify the letter that labels that structure. Okay, which is the organ that stores urine? Storage of urine occurs in the bladder. That's an easy question. Storage of urine occurs in the urinary bladder. So I will put the, here I would like bladder, and here I will put the letter G. The tube that carries the urine out of the kidney. Urine comes from the kidney, goes down the ureter to the urinary bladder. So this tube will be F, and here I will write ureter. The blood vessel with the lowest concentration of urea. So the blood with the lowest concentration of urea will be the renal vein, which is the letter D. Why is this? Because as we said before, the blood entering the kidney will have high concentration of urea because it's not filtered yet. But after the blood enters the kidney, it will filter and the urea will go to the urine. So the blood coming out will be clean. It has low concentration of urea. That's why we chose D, which is the renal vein going, the blood going back to the heart. Blood vessel with lowest concentration of CO2. Of course, this will be the renal artery because it contains oxygenated blood. Renal artery, the blood coming from the heart. So where is the renal artery? It will be this one, E. Tube that carries urine out of the body. This is the urethra. Where is the urethra? Out of the body. Here it is H. Okay. Doctors wanted to investigate the effect of exercise on the excretion of salts. They collected urine from people before and after running a long distance on a hot day. The results are shown. This is the volume of urine before, and this is the concentration of salts. This is the urine after, and this is the concentration of salts. Suggest why there is a difference in volume of urine produced before running compared with after running. What will I say? I will tell him that because during the run, he will lose water in sweating. He lost more water during the run in sweating, okay? Also, during running, he did not drink much water, so this is why the volume of urine decreased.
بس أنا عندي سؤال.
Calculate the percentage decrease in the average sodium concentration after running compared with before running. Give your answer to one significant figure. Okay, percentage decrease. How do we get the percentage decrease? We do subtract the two numbers over the original number, which is before running, times 100. So I will do 85.6 minus 78.2 over 85.6 times 100. Please remember to round up to the nearest one significant figure after you finish, the answer will be 9%. Describe how the kidney tubules enable the excretion of salts. In this question, we will describe the whole process of excretion. What happens exactly? Number one, salts are found in the blood. Ultrafiltration occurs in the glomerulus, where the small molecules pass out of the pores of the capillaries, while the large molecules remain in the blood. After they pass out, some of the salts are reabsorbed back to the blood by the active transport, while the excess salts pass out with urine out of the body. So this is the process of excretion. Okay, large plasma proteins are usually prevented from entering the urine. State the name of one protein found in the blood plasma. Okay, proteins are the antibodies or hormones or fibrinogen, which is responsible for the blood clotting. All these are proteins in the blood plasma. Okay, question 4. It shows a bee with pollen on its legs. Very easy question. Bees are insects that pollinate some flowering plants. They are attracted to the flowers by their color, scent, and nectar. Describe other ways in which flowers and pollen grains are adapted for insect pollination. Take care that he told you other than color, scent, and nectar. I want other adaptations. So the rest of the adaptations will be the flower has large petals. Anthers and stigma are inside the flower. They are not hanging outside like the wind pollinated. Also, the pollen grains are large and sticky so that they can stick to the body of the insect. Where is the pollen produced in a flower? طبعا pollen grains are produced in the anther of the flower. What is the name of process that produces haploid nuclei? Haploid nuclei means that it contains one set of chromosomes, which is half the number of normal chromosomes. The cell division that does this is the meiosis. Meiosis. Explain why it is important that the nuclei are haploid. ليه لازم why the cell has to be haploid so that the diploid number is restored after fertilization. If the two cells were diploid, the number of chromosomes in the zygote will double. This is why the gametes has to be haploid to restore the normal number after fertilization. Describe how the pollen that is carried by the insect to another flower results in the formation of the embryo. Right, I want to write the steps starting from the pollen on the insect till it becomes a plant embryo. So here I will describe all the steps starting from pollination till the formation of the embryo. I will say the pollen reaches the stigma, then it starts to develop a pollen tube. This pollen tube goes down the style and enters the ovule, which is inside the ovary. Okay, so the pollen tube goes till the ovule. What does it do, the pollen tube? It delivers the male nucleus, which fuses with the female nucleus during fertilization to form a zygote. The zygote divides by mitosis many times to form the embryo. This is the all the steps. Describe the advantages of cross-pollination. Advantages of cross-pollination. Remember that we have asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. The asexual, it has no gametes, no fertilization. This is another thing. Now, what about the sexual reproduction? There are two parents and there are gametes. In the sexual reproduction in plants, we took cross-pollination and self-pollination. Here, I want the advantages of the cross-pollination. ايه advantages of cross-pollination? Since cross-pollination is the fusion of a male gamete with a female gamete from a different plant, so what are the advantages? It allows variation, and so it allows the plant to evolve and adapt to the changing environment because it will have a variety of characteristics. Also, it will be less susceptible to the genetic diseases. Unlike if the two gametes are from the same plant, this makes it more likely for the genetic disease to appear in the offspring. Okay, some people are concerned that genetically modified plants might cross-pollinate with the wild varieties. Genetically modified with the wild varieties. How the farmers could prevent cross-pollination between the genetically modified and the wild varieties. So here, as I said, that I do not want the pollens from the plants outside or from the plants in the wild to come to the genetically modified. How will I do this? I can tell him, cover the flowers of genetically modified crops so that the pollens does not reach it. I will only put the pollens that I want. Or I can say that I can grow them in glass houses. What are the two advantages of the genetically modified crops? What did we do to help us using the genetically modified? What are the advantages of the genetically modified crops? I will tell him that you can make the plant resistant to a specific material, such as مثلا resistant to herbicides or resistant to insects, or you can make the plant give more nutrients like the golden rice, which gave more vitamin A. Okay?
This ممكن أقول give more yield.
Yes, you can also say that it will provide more yield, the genetically modified crops.
Okay.
Milk is a source of some nutrients that are part of a balanced diet. Calcium and protein are two nutrients found in milk. Describe the importance of calcium and the importance of protein. This is an easy question. Calcium is important for formation of strong bones and teeth, okay? While proteins are important for growth and tissue repair. Growth and tissue repair. Easy question. Also, I can say to make enzymes, to make antibodies, to make muscles, all of this are made of from proteins. Lactose is found in cow's milk. Some people do not have the enzyme to digest lactose. State two organs in the alimentary canal that produce enzymes. I have a lot of organs, starting from the salivary glands in the mouth. You do not say mouth because the mouth does not produce the enzymes. The salivary glands are the organ that produces the enzymes. Or I can say stomach produces pepsin. Pancreas produces the pancreatic juice with all its enzymes. Or I can say the small intestine because it produces the maltase enzyme. Figure 5.1 shows a flow of, yes, mouth is wrong. Mouth is wrong لأن المouth does not produce the enzymes يا The salivary glands produces the enzymes which works inside the mouth. Okay. Figure 5.1 shows a flow diagram for the production of lactose-free milk. Step number 1, you will collect the cow milk from the farm, and then you will heat it at very high temperature, then allow it to cool, pour in a container containing beads that contains enzyme, collect the lactose-free milk, store it at 2 degrees in sterile bottles. Question number 1, explain how heating the milk in step 2 ensures the hygienic preparation. Why do I heat it after I take it from the cow? Milk is heated, high temperature, to kill the bacteria, to kill any bacteria present. Okay, why the milk must be cooled in step 3 before it makes contact with enzymes? In step 3, he told you he cooled it to 20 degrees before he passed it through the enzymes. Before adding it to enzymes, you have to cool it down Why is this? To prevent denaturing of enzymes and changing shape of active site so that the lactose is not damaged. You will add the milk on the, sorry, the lactase is not damaged. You will add the milk on the lactase enzyme. Okay? So if the lactase is denatured, the lactose sugar will not be broken down. Prevent the denaturing and changing the shape so that lactose sugar can be broken down. Okay.
بس لو قلنا ان الانزيم برضه بروتين موليكيول، هل دي درجه؟
Yeah, يعني you have to say that it's a protein molecule, so it will denature by the enzyme. لا, it's not a separate mark. It's not a separate mark.
Okay.
State the name of the enzyme that is used to make lactose. It will be lactase enzyme. Remember that anything that ends with O's is a sugar. Anything that ends with A's, A-S-E, is an enzyme. Why the enzymes are kept in beads rather than mixed in solution. So here we said that the beads, this is called the immobilization of the enzyme. Instead of putting the enzyme on the milk and then losing it with the milk, and you have to put other enzymes again if you did the process again, you will put the enzyme in beads. So the milk will pass and come out from the other side lactose-free. This enables you to reuse the enzymes over and over again because the enzymes do not finish. It enables you to reuse the enzymes. Okay. Milk is produced by mammals. Explain the advantages to newborn mammals of breast milk. Very straightforward question. The advantages of breast milk are a lot. It has antibodies, which gives passive immunity. It is sterile. You do not need to heat it or anything. It has suitable temperature. No cost. It's for free. Bond between the mother and the baby. I can also say that its composition changes according to the age of the baby. Easy to digest. Yani, all these are advantages. Explain why breastfeeding mothers are advised to drink plenty of water and avoid excessive alcohol. So the question here is two parts. The first part is why they are advised to drink plenty of water. And I told him that water is needed to produce adequate quantity of the milk. Milk is mainly, it's made from water and other constituents. While the alcohol, you should not drink alcohol during pregnancy because it passes to the placenta and may affect the development of the baby. Okay, the last question. Sensitivity is one of the characteristics for all living organisms. Define the term sensitivity. This is the usual definition. It is the ability to detect stimuli and respond to it. You have to put these two words, detect and response, okay? Or the ability to detect and respond to stimuli, still the same, detect and respond. The eye is an example of a sense organ. What's the definition of a sense organ? It came in another exam before. Group of receptor cells that respond to stimuli. This is the definition. It's a sensory cells or receptor cells, the same. The sensory organs, they have receptors, okay? But he usually writes it receptor cells in the recent exams, so we can write أحسن receptor cells. It's not wrong.
هل ممكن نحسبها؟
لا. بس يعني adrenaline is a hormone that is released in fight or flight. It causes a change in the eye. Complete the table by stating the parts of the eye that changes when adrenaline is released. Okay, we said that when the adrenaline is released, what happens to the pupil? It widens the pupil, okay? It widens the pupil. So this is similar to the action in dim light. Remember that we took in bright light, CC. This is how we memorize it. In the bright light, CC. What does this mean? In bright light, circular muscle contracts, radial muscle relaxes. طب what about dim light? Dim light, we will do the opposite. CR, circular muscle relaxes while the radial muscle contracts. So why am I telling you this? Because the adrenaline widens the pupil just like what happens in dim light. So we will say that the muscle that relaxes is the circular muscle, circular muscle, while the muscle that contracts is the radial muscle. Which part widens? The pupil widens. Okay? Any questions in this exam?